All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, at least on the East Coast and Central Time. And good morning to those of you on the Pacific Coast Time. I want to welcome you to the call again this week, and thank you very much for attending. The topic this week came about because someone actually called last week after the call and asked me a question about getting more organized. And, you know, there's 100 books on organization, and people tell you all the time about getting organized and you got to do it. And, you know, more often than not, I think that we really tell ourselves that we're too busy being busy to be busy being organized and executing a plan. And we get caught up in the day, we get caught up in the activities that we have to, and the duties that we have to perform, and we get away from being organized. So I wanted to go through some things with you today that you need to be aware of if you want to be a successful manager and leader in any business. And the first thing is to have a highly structured time during the course of your business day. Now, it's usually best for morning to schedule some things in the automotive industry, in sales, in service. It's usually best to schedule it for late morning. But for sales, for a general manager, for a dealer who has staff that are taking care of the morning customers in your dealership, you really should highly structure your day around a disciplined set of priorities. And I think a major reason I see leaders unable to accomplish their goals is because they put the less important things first, and the less important things are normally the things that just pop up. You know, most leaders that I meet are in any business are good employees. Part of the reason why they got to management, why they got a position of leadership, was their willingness and their ability to learn more and take on more responsibilities. And sometimes in life, what makes us good is what makes us bad. And if we take on enough things as duties and the reasons are just wonderful, they're noble reasons why we do it. No one else can do this as well as I can. Other people forget to do it, and it's important to the business that it be done every day, so I'll do it personally. Those are all, you know, nice, noble reasons to do things, but in fact, they're not the most effective way to manage and lead, because we take those first-level priority things and we tend to make them second because we're firefighting. If there are three types of management in life and you have firefighting management, that's what we do for the most part in the automotive industry, and you have tactical management, which on a great day is what we do, and those plans are for the near and short term, let's say within a month. And then you have long-term planning. We do very little of long-term planning, strategic planning in the automotive industry. Oh, sure, we put together an annual plan, and we talked about that months ago. But an annual plan, you reach it by managing every day, having a process and being consistent every day. So to get more organized and to help implement that strategy, I would encourage you to determine, you know, your 2 to 4 highest return activities each day. What brings you the most in your department, your business each day? Schedule those activities and execute them regardless of the cost. We sometimes step over dollars to pick up pennies in this business, and we justify it by it really just needed to be done. It doesn't always need to be done by you. Those things can be delegated. They can be outsourced. We could train someone to do them. And in some cases, we could pass on doing them completely because there's really no return on it. So as a leader, the biggest challenge I want to put to you is take some time. Ask yourself, what are those 2 to 4 highest return activities each day that I can do, that I can manage, that I can execute? Schedule them. And then no matter what the cost, make sure that those things get done. Try to leave as little unmanaged time in your calendar as possible. We tend to leave the majority of our calendar every day open for when we get busy. Well, That's not a very good organized way to run any other business on earth. I don't know why we're so unique in this business, but apparently we are. So as you highly structure your day, you want to make sure you have enough productive, pre-planned activities built into your schedule in order to eliminate as much unmanaged time as possible. When you have unmanaged time, that's a killer. Unmanaged time flows to what's trivial. We tend to fill the time just being busy, not being productive. And that's when we get into utilizing that unmanaged time to surf the web, to engage in useless conversations, to talk on the phone for long periods of time, read the newspaper, or we overeat. That's one of my favorites personally. A little chunky kid like me, we overeat. We hit the vending machine 9 times. That probably wouldn't be on your schedule if you were to schedule your day's work. And it's also best, and this is a death trap, avoid fellow employees who don't highly structure any of their time. Because, as I'm sure you've noticed, people who have nothing to do like to do it with you. They got nothing going on, they're more than willing to share that with you. And unmanaged time also tends to flow to our management weaknesses. We tend to end up in low-return activities that we oftentimes make things worse, because what we end up doing with that unmanaged time is we tend to either micromanage things or get caught up in something so small that it takes us away from the big picture items, the things where we can make the most impact in our business, being available to our people. So when we have that unmanaged time, we're either rearranging the marble collection that we've had since we were 12 years old, or we start wandering around and micromanaging things. This drives the employees crazy, and then they're not productive. Unmanaged time surrenders itself to every emergency. You get involved in the gossip and the drama and every little emergency that pops up in your dealership the second the moment presents itself, because you don't have anything else structured to do. And then we kid ourselves and we say, well, I was busy, and I was busy handling this. That item is probably something you shouldn't have had to deal with in the first place. And unmanaged time, and you may be guilty of this, unmanaged time tends to come under the control of the dominant people in the business. When 3 salespeople are hanging around and they don't have scheduled time, they're not working on their CRM, they're not working on their follow-up, they're not working on future business, they tend to be the people sent out for coffee by the more dominant salespeople. They tend to drift into an office with the most dominant guy on the sales force who has a lot of repeat and referral business, and he takes up all their time telling war stories or talking about the game last night. Nothing good happens when unmanaged time goes over to the dominant people. You end up working off their inbox rather than your own inbox. They got 4 or 5 items. They can come in your office and just dump them on you and leave. And I'm sure as leaders or managers, you've had people who every time they seem to leave your office, if you really stopped and thought about it, they left you something to do that probably isn't yours to do in the first place. And that's true if you're an owner or a GM. Sometimes they do it very cleverly. I haven't had time to get this done. Oh, that's okay. I'll take care of it. Guess what we're training people to do? Not have structured time in their day. If you are examining your tasks as you go along each day, and all you have to do is pay attention for a week. I know that's tough in this business, tough for me, but if we pay attention for a week, here's what we're going to find out. If a task is contributing, little or nothing to your business, then just say no to it. You get yourself on a little bit of a rampage to find all the time-wasting things that are going on in your dealership that produce nothing and return nothing, and eliminate them. Ask yourself the question, what would happen if this particular thing doesn't get done at all? If the answer is nothing, don't do it. Same thing for your employees. If 2 guys hanging around an office just chatting up a storm about absolutely nothing to do with work, is there any return on that for you? No, then break it up. Educate them. Point it out to them that there is no return on this. Get their agreement. And another thing you want to do Sounds counterintuitive, but you want to come up with a not-to-do list. We all have a to-do list, or most of us do. Come up with a not-to-do list. Those things that you know provide no value that you do, that you get yourself involved with. Don't do those things anymore. Literally write them down and make sure that either A, if it's important enough that it should be done, someone else does it, and B, that you don't get yourself into doing it because you've already determined there's no return on it. We would not go out and buy a used old motorcycle that doesn't run and put it in our used car inventory. Why? Because there's no return on it. It's not the core of what we do, and it's a waste of time. Yet we do things like that in business all the time. So get yourself a not-to-do list and start to work on that. And then probably one of the things that good employees are guilty of all the time is they let their mouth overload their back. When good people are presented with an opportunity to take on a new project or go to a meeting or do something that has little value to the business overall or return, but seems like an important thing to do or something good to be part of, they'll always raise their hand and volunteer. Make sure your good people aren't weighed down with projects and duties and procedures that don't mean much. I have seen some of the best management in an automotive dealership performing tasks outside the dealership, stringing up streamers and things like that, when they have 6 salespeople who depend on them. Their core job is to help them be prepared to sell more cars, and they're out front on a ladder tying up the streamers because apparently that's what they've always done. Again, it's a time killer. There's no return on it. They shouldn't be doing it. There are other people they can have do it. But again, in the name of being busy, we make those kinds of decisions. So I'm going to give you a couple hints about greater time management, and you can take those and apply them, and I promise you your life, your schedule, your business will become more organized. Understand that you are surrounded by other people's agendas every day. Your bosses, your employees, your families, your customers, your vendors, your friends. Other people have agendas for you. Make sure that you don't fill your calendar with theirs. Make sure that you first fill your calendar with your own priorities. And then the time that you choose to manage will now be under your control and will be more productive. Learn to say no. There are some things you shouldn't be directly involved in, or learn to sleep on it before committing to a new obligation. That's a good idea. I can see that it needs to be done. Let me think about the best way to get that done. If you continually raise your hand and take it on, you will train your people to bring their issues, items, their inbox to you and dump it on your desk. Develop some disciplined, effective routines. Again, the morning is the best time to do it. At the end of the day, look back on the day that you planned and make adjustments for tomorrow. If you do that, when you leave work, you'll feel more at peace, and when you come in the morning, you'll have a good game plan for the day. There's nothing worse than coming in the morning and having chaos hit you, because by lunch you start saying things like, I feel like I haven't gotten anything done today. Oh, it's been just crazy this morning. If someone asks you the most fundamental core thing of your business, did we do this yet? Did we order the new car inventory? Did you get those cars ready to go to the sale? Have you checked and make sure those deals are funded at the bank? Oh, I've been really busy. I haven't had time. Those are the important things. So try and remember that if you understand that you are surrounded by other people's agendas, you've got to learn to say no or you're going to sleep on it. You need to develop disciplined, effective routines in order to be more effective in your business, and examine that plan every night before you leave and make your adjustments for tomorrow. I think that you'll find that you're going to be a lot better, not only professionally, but personally, because when you can put a work day behind you in an organized fashion, you can go home to your family and you can give them more focused attention. It's when we are worried about the things we forgot to do, or concerned about the things we need to do, that's when you're not there. So consequently, what ends up happening to many type A personality people's leaders in business in general, not just the car business, is we get so incredibly busy at work, but we're not working an organized plan that we're not very good and effective there. And we're so incredibly busy, and when we leave work, we feel unfulfilled and unfinished that we're not very good at home. So I encourage you to try and get a little more organized. Put everything into a process for yourself. Be disciplined about that process, and you'll have more success. I want to thank Mike again, as always, for hosting these calls and putting them together, because Lord knows I couldn't do it. And again, my name is Paul Morris. My phone number is 814 area code 449-1899, and anyone with any questions who wants to call me, please feel free to do so. I'll try and take your calls. The rest of today is good for me for availability. And otherwise, Mike will send my email address. Feel free to email me questions or what you would like to talk about in the coming weeks as topics, and I will do my best to get them in. Mike, thank you very much for hosting this call again this week.